gorgeous. How you doing? You know that smile, that giggle was coming. I'm recording this now and it's September and I can't believe it's September because it is so sunny. It is so hot in Toronto right now. It feels like June, July, and I love it. So, on today's podcast episode, I don't know why I love saying I am going to tell you 7 things that you can start doing to lose belly fat. All right, so let's jump into this.
You feel unhappy. You don't feel like yourself again. Nothing fits. And it just seems like the pounds, the inches are just piling on your waist no matter what you do. It doesn't matter how much you eat, how much you work out, no matter what you do. You just can't shake the weight around your waist. Well, guess what? I can help you with that, baby. I know how you feel. I know you feel tired. You are consistently moody. You don't feel like yourself again. You want to feel vivacious. You want to feel sexy. You want to feel confident. You want to feel happy. You want everything to fit. I know you do, right? Well, I can help you with that. Click the link below and come on over to join my 12-week program. Thrive, transform, and glow through perimenopause with Trudie. I promise you, you won't regret it. It is a 12-week program guaranteed to have you feeling amazing, guaranteed to have you losing the belly fat. And of course, in the process, of getting you to lose the belly fat, you are going to eliminate a lot of perimenopausal symptoms like hot flashes, night sweats, moodiness, insomnia. Hello, come on over. Come on over, baby. Don't suffer no more. Let me help you.
Before we get this podcast episode started, I do need a few favors. One, could you rate and review if you've listened to one or more podcast episodes? Could you please leave me a review and a rating? By doing that, that will help Apple and the other podcast carriers like Spotify to pump out my podcast to more women going through perimenopause like you, to help them. The more women that I can help, the better, because there's absolutely no reason why we should be suffering and just getting by during this process. It is not, that's not how it's supposed to be. It's not normal, even though common. And second, could you share this podcast episode with a friend who you think may find value in it? All right. So, I want to talk a bit about some of the things that you need to be doing. And I know there's so much information, especially if you Google things. I want you to also be careful with Google because they give very generic information, and a lot of the information they do give does not apply to you, a woman over 40 going through perimenopause, looking to not only lose fat, but to keep it off, right? So I'm going to give you some realistic tips that I promise you. If you start implementing them, you will start noticing a difference. No, you're not going to lose the fat overnight. You didn't gain it overnight, so you're not going to lose it overnight. It is important that I let you know that. And this is something that I definitely go over in my program, Thrive, Transform, and Glow Through Perimenopause. We start September 30th. So definitely click the link below to schedule your call to come on in, because I know I give a lot of information and you may decide to start trying all of them, and then you feel overwhelmed and anxious, and then you're like, screw it, and you go back to doing the things you're not supposed to be doing and consistently feel tired, can't sleep, when the belly fat comes on, and then the hot flashes and the mood swings and everything else. So I would definitely love, love, love to help you. I am a coach. This is what I do. I've helped myself, I've helped others. And having a coach guide you makes a difference as opposed to you doing it on your own. Because I do have a system and a plan that works. So, before I share those tips, a few things I want to get into, right? I'm sure you've noticed that it's getting harder for you to lose the belly fat. Things that you've done before, things you used to do, it was easy. Now you're like, why is it so much harder? Why am I struggling? Why is it the things that worked 10, 15 years ago when you were in your 20s, they're not working now? And then you start going to the extreme and you're like, they're not working. That is happening because there's so much change is going on with your hormones. And if you've listened to a few podcast episodes, you know I talk a lot about hormones because that's the root of the problem. Any way you want to slice the cake, it is the hormones that are imbalanced that are causing so many issues. So, one of them, cortisol, the stress hormone. I did an entire podcast episode about cortisol and another one about stress. I'm going to make sure they're linked below. When cortisol goes up, progesterone goes down. Progesterone is also a hormone that helps you feel better. When cortisol remains high, you can't produce melatonin. Melatonin helps you sleep. So if you notice that you're stressed and you experience difficulty falling asleep and or staying asleep, that's part of the reason. When cortisol remains high, you may also experience anxiety, mood changes, you're irritable, someone chewing irritates you, someone breathing irritates you, your husband just breathing, you're like, do you have to breathe? Right? So those are some of the things. What also happens when cortisol increases and progesterone drops, you experience things like fluid retention. That also happens when you're not getting enough sleep. So your body is retaining more fluid, you're bloated, and you're like, am I putting on belly fat or or what's going on? You can't tell because now everything appears bigger than what they really are. You start experiencing trouble. Um, you're experiencing issues losing weight, you're gaining weight easily. You may also experience hot flashes, night sweats, low libido, no libido, dry vagina. See so many things that are happening because of one hormone, cortisol, being thrown out of whack. Now, if you're on social media, TikTok especially, because I spend way too much time over there, I've been limiting my exposure there. You'll notice cortisol seems to be the talk of the town, and everyone's sharing these drinks to lower cortisol. I want you to be very careful with those drinks because here's the thing, if you have not made lifestyle changes and you go and purchase those things, even ashwagandha is a great supplement to help lower your stress level, but it is a supplement. It is auxiliary, it is secondary. So if you have not addressed the issues, then what's going to happen is it's not going to work or it may work short term, right? So I want you to keep that in mind. Another thing that happens when cortisol goes up, estrogen comes down. And I know I keep saying this, hopefully before the program starts, September 30th, I'll get around to recording an episode where I talk much more about estrogen and the role that also plays in you gaining and losing belly fat. So for now, let's kind of touch on it. So when cortisol goes up, estrogen goes down, which also causes hot flash, dry skin. I remember when I entered perimenopause, that was something that I experienced. I had dry, itchy skin. Let me tell you something, my skin would itch so much. I would be afraid of taking a shower because it's like 20 minutes after my shower, I would be itching. My skin would be so dry. My arms, my back, my stomach, my thighs. It's like I literally had to use a hairbrush, right? And if you know me, if you see me on Instagram, your girl don't have much hair, but I had to go dig up a hairbrush out of a box to use because the dry, itchy skin was so ridiculous. And also, if you notice that you're starting to get wrinkles and your skin's not as thin, as thick, it looks a bit thinner. Once again, rise in cortisol, drop in estrogen. This also contribute to weight gain, mostly around your hips and your stomach. Part of the reason why you get so much, we gain so much weight around our midsection during perimenopause is because at this point we have more cortisol receptors in our stomach, right? So the more cortisol is running around in our body, it's like a lock and key, right? Cortisol is the lock. Sorry, cortisol is the key, and then the receptors are the lock. So you have one lock can close multiple, one key can close multiple locks. So think about it. Cortisol is running around, but you have all these locks in your stomach as we get ready for menopause, as perimenopause, we're in perimenopause. So it just sits on our gut. And sometimes you may even be losing fat everywhere else. And you're like, why is the gut not budging? Right? So you also experience night sweats. It's difficult for you to gain muscles. So of course you're struggling to gain muscles. So now you have more fat. You also have low energy. You find your hair may be thinning. You may also have an increase in acne. I've had women, they're like, listen, I have more acne now than I've ever had in my life. You may experience things like PCOS, like there's so much going on, and it's all because of your hormones. And the biggest contributing factor to the imbalance is in hormones, stress and stress and stress. Now, as I mentioned in previous podcast episodes, the one on cortisol and the one on stress, stress isn't necessarily a bad thing. The problem is when our bodies are in stress mode for too long. So, some of you may know that, yes, you are stressed, you're living a stressful life. Some of you may be like, no, my life is just normal. But what's that normal, Drew? Or what's that normal, right? So some of the stress you may be experiencing, you may be stressed at work. You're a manager, you just got a promotion, you're between jobs. Your job itself may be stressful. Now, at this stage, a lot of you are kind of like in that parenting generation. You're parenting your parents who don't listen, and you're parenting your children, whether they're teenagers, young adults, full adults, you're still in that parenting mode. Or you may have children going away to college for the first time. So you're dealing with so many stress, so many things happening, right? So many people need you, or you're like, I'm no longer feeling needed. What should I do? But so many different stress. And then social media. I don't think we realize how social media adds stress to our life. Like being on our phone, all that swipe, 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 that dopamine high. That is another stressor. So I'm going to share with you some things that you should be doing. Because when your body is in stress mode, as I mentioned in a previous podcast, one, your body will not be able to break down and absorb nutrients. Two, you will feel tired. Three, when you're tired, you do not get a good night's sleep. If you do not get a good night's sleep, you are moody, you are cranky the next day. You see if the cycle continues when you are moody, when you are cranky because you did not sleep, that throws your hormones, that tells your body it's full, and the one that tells your body it's hungry, out of whack. Now cravings increase. You're craving sugar, which are processed sugar, which is just going to sit on your gut. You're craving salt. You're craving everything unhealthy, right? When your body is stressed, when all this cortisol is running around in your body, even if you do work out, even if you're lifting weights, the muscles aren't building, right? So, do you see the ricochet effect that stress has on your body and what it can do? So, I'm going to give you some tips that you can implement daily. Please grab a pen and paper and write these things down. Don't just put, and or you want to put them in your phone. If you put them in your phone, make sure you also refer back to them. Don't just put it there. Like something that this is why having a coach is important. because sometimes you put these things, you take a screenshot, you save it, you're going to come back to it. Do you really ever? When you have a coach, someone like myself, like my clients who are in my Thrive, Transform, and Glow Through Perimenopause program, they have me as their coach to hold them accountable. When they feel like, okay, it's too much, I'll regress and be like, hey, okay, let's do this. Or once they've hit that, let's progress. This is why having a coach is important. So, 7 things that you can do to help you lose belly fat and keep it up, to help you get rid of belly fat. I'm trying not to say that word because when you lose something, you want it back. Ain't nobody want this back, right? Number one, manage your stress. I'll never tell you not to stress because that is not possible. Life be lifing. Life does what it do. I like to say either you're dealing with some sort of crap right now, you're about to start dealing with some crap, or you're getting ready to deal with some sort of crap. It does not end no matter what, no matter how much money you have, no matter whether you have kids, it does not matter. Something's always going to come up. The trick is to manage your stress. When I work with my clients, I give them different tips and different techniques that they can implement throughout their day. Not That's not sitting an hour doing yoga, sorry, meditating. I give them realistic tips to help them manage their stress. So, something that you can do to manage your stress is to get a pen and a paper. And I want you to use a pen and a paper. I don't want you to write this to use your phone for this. There's a reason. There's a connection with our thumb and our brains when we actually use a pen or a pencil and put it to the paper, pen to paper or pencil to paper. I want you to take inventory, write down everything you are currently doing, everything you have to do. Look at it on a sheet of paper. Don't just think about it in your brain. I want you to write it down and look at it. Once you've done that, I want you to also ask yourself, do I need, not do I want to, do I need to be doing all of these things? Okay? And look at them and go make create something like, so when you look at it, hold on, let me back up a bit. When you look, once you've written down the list and you look at it, I want you to determine, do I need to do this? Probably as an N. Can I outsource this? As put an O. Um, is this necessary? Can this wait? Put a question mark, right? So N, O, and a question mark. Put the N for next to what you need to do. The O, can I outsource it? Question mark, does this even need to be done? And I promise you, you'll realize that you're doing too much. If you don't need to do it, how about you outsource it? If you're in a position to outsource some of the things, because I know there are a lot of women who outsource housekeeping, who outsource laundry service. There's so many things you can outsource. Can you do that? Or even if you're not in that financial position, do you have someone else in the house? Do you have a partner? Do you have a spouse? Do you have children who can do some of the things? Because as women, we tend to want to do it all and feel that, if we don't do it all, if we don't do it ourselves, it's not going to be done properly. And we may fuss when someone else do it. So what if you fuss the first few times? They still got to learn, right? This is about lightening your load, taking off some of the stress for you so you can be more present in your daily activities, so you can take care of you, so you can take care of your health. And when you're taking care of you and your health, you can show up better for your family and for your friends, right? Um, yeah, look at that, because I've had clients where, they had 2 children. They had each children in 2 3 activities. They had to be running from here there all over the place, consistently burnt out and tired. It's like, Do your children really need to be in all these activities simultaneously? Or can they do one this time and then get into another one? Do you see what I mean? Yes, they may enjoy it and that's fine, but what is it doing to you in the process? If it's burning you out, if it's stressing you out, if it's giving you sleepless nights, is it really worth it? Or if they're going to do it, how about you kind of start get someone else to help you to bring them to and or from these extracurricular activities? I'm just giving you options that when you start looking at the things, you're like, okay, do I really need to do all of this? All right. Next thing I want, so that was one. Next thing I want you to do, if I almost said a bad word. If for some reason you're doing intermittent fasting, do me a favor and please stop. If you're over 40 going through perimenopause, you're doing intermittent fasting and you notice that you're not losing belly fat, it's just the same or it's getting more, you're gaining more fat around there. Stop it, please, because your body's already in high stress state, in a chronic stress state, and now by you not eating you're also adding more stress, and then you're probably not losing the belly fat, so now you're shortening the eating period because you feel okay, if I eat less within the time frame, if I shorten my window, then I'll see the results, and it's not happening, right? So, what's happening when you're doing intermittent fasting or dieting? Those usually lead to blood sugar issues. And with that comes high cortisol. And as I mentioned before, high cortisol means muscles are being broken down. When your muscles are being broken down as opposed to being built up, now you have more fat, right? So you wanna stay away from that. And speaking of intermittent fasting, what I want you to do also, three, reduce processed foods. Now, I'm not going to tell you to cut it out completely because at some point you may be out and you need it. At some point you may want to go out with your friends. I want you to live. When I work with clients in my Thrive, Transform, and Glow through Perimenopause program, I am not teaching them how to diet. I don't want you to look at foods as good or bad because that can also lead to some sort of eating disorder or you having a negative relationship with food. That is not the goal. There are some foods that I would like you to have less of, and processed foods are one of them. And some foods I want you to have more of. Some of those processed foods could be like chips, pizza, dining out too much, fries, even some of you that are having a whole lot of protein bars and keto bars for my keto lovers. A lot of those things are highly processed, right? So I want you to limit the consumption of that. And I want you to start. So this is for what you can do: eat more meals throughout the day. I do not want you snacking. Only snacking throughout the day is not good because your body is not getting enough carbs throughout the day to give you the energy for you to do what you need to. I don't think you realize it. You use energy a lot. You use energy even when you're sleeping. You probably think, I'm laying down. I'm not running up and down. How is that using energy? Because your organs are still working. Your digestive system is working. Your cardiovascular system is working. Your respiratory system is working. Your nervous system is working. So what happens is when you have not had enough food throughout the day, those mandatory processes that you don't control that needs to happen, the energy goes to those first, and then whatever is left over is used. So that's why when you don't sleep properly throughout the night, or when you don't eat properly throughout the day, you don't sleep properly at night because you don't have enough energy, right? And when you don't sleep throughout the night, the next morning Ghrelin, which tells your body it's hungry, leptin, the hormone that tells your body it's full, is completely imbalanced. And now you are craving and consuming crap, which is going to sit on your stomach, and the cycle continues. All right. So I want you to be having 3 meals. If you want to throw snacks into it, that is fine, but you need to be having 3 meals. You need breakfast, you need lunch, you need dinner. Each meal need to have carbs, and I'm not talking about just kale and lettuce. Those are good, but you need potatoes, you need regular potatoes, you need sweet potatoes, you need pasta, you need rice, you need carbs, you need bread at each meal, right? Those are the carbs. You need protein, whether it's tofu if you're vegan, eggs, chicken breast, cottage cheese, yogurt. You need protein, salmon, beef, turkey breast. You need protein at each meal. You need fat. Use olive oil, use coconut oil, use avocado, but each meal needs to have those. And I promise you, you will not lose the belly fat if you're not eating enough throughout the day. Notice I'm saying eating enough throughout the day, not just have everything in the morning because you're hungry and then go all day because you get busy and have nothing else, or fast all day and then at the end of the day in your 4 hour window you're packing in everything. No, you need to be eating your meals throughout the day, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. I have women when they come to me, they were doing intermittent fasting, they were eating one, maybe 2 times a day. When I was like, okay, we need you eating 4 to 6 times a day, they were shocked. They were like, I can't do that. I'm like, yeah, you are. And I get them to that point where they even have energy and they're sleeping through the night. So I know this work, and the belly fat starts shrinking, right? Next thing you want not to do, sorry, what the fifth thing, you want to make sure that you're avoiding stimulants like coffee, caffeine, not just coffee, but caffeine or sugar after 2 p.m., like the energy drink. Because what happens is if you, and here's another thing, if you can tell me, girl, I can have those at any time of day and go to sleep, that is a clear indication your body's in stress mode. If you can have coffee 8 o'clock at night, 9 o'clock at night, and go to bed 10, 11 o'clock at night, your body is in stress mode and you're not going to lose fat, right? So have those before 2 p.m., whether it is your Red Bull, your caffeine, whatever it is, wrap it up by 2 p.m. All right. I want you to stay off HIT. I want you to stay off high intensity interval training. And I know HIT, so if you don't know what HIT is, it is where you complete a move all out for like 20 seconds, 30 seconds, then you rest for like 2 times the amount, 30, 60 seconds or something like that, and you repeat it, high intensity interval. Those are great for women who are either not over 40 and going through perimenopause, or even if they're over 40 and going through perimenopause, they're not stressed. If you have been doing HIT and struggling to lose belly fat, please stop it immediately, because that is sending your body that is already stressed into a higher stress mode, which we do not want. What should you do instead? Number 7, lift weights. No, you will not look bulky. No, you will not look like Baby Hulk. No, you will not look like Arnold Schwarzenegger. You want to lift more muscle, you want to lift heavier weights. You want to work out 30 minutes 3 times a week. And this is something that we do in my Thrive, Transform, and Glow. You do not need to be lifting weights every day. That is too much stress on your body. That is one. Two, realistically, how long can you maintain that for? Right? So of course, the more when you weight train, it is going to take a while. Um, you are building muscle. The more muscle you build, the more dense you become, the less fat you have, the easier it is for you to burn fat. So I'm going to recap those again. 1, manage your stress. 2, stop intermittent fasting. 3, lay off the processed foods, decrease the amount of processed foods you're having. For the process, whatever amount of processed foods you're currently having, let's start by cutting it in half. I'm an advocate for increments. Next up, eat more meals throughout the day. You want to be having breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Five, you want to avoid stimulants like caffeine and any of those energy drink, energy shots, those highly processed food, fruits, juice, whatever, after 2 p.m. Six, no hit. I don't even want you doing hit once a week. Get off hit, high intensity interval training. And seven, add weights. You should be lifting weights 2 to 3 times a week. All right. I hope that you can just let me know which one. Comment after you listen to this podcast. Do me a favor. Comment below which one you're going to start doing immediately. And my suggestion would be take one, don't start with all seven, to be honest, because you're going to feel overwhelmed. It's going to be too much. You'll probably, I don't even think you'll last 5 days. Then you're like, screw it, and go back to your living. I would say choose one. Whichever one out of the seven is the easiest you think for you to implement instantly, do that for 5 to 7 days, then add another one. And comment below and let me know which one you're going to use. As I mentioned before, honey, I know I share a lot of information here. There's so much, and I have so many other podcasts to start recording. There's so much I want to teach you. There's so much more to learn and understand. I genuinely want you to understand that perimenopause, it is a natural process, and you only feel like shit. You only feel like crap. You hate it because you don't understand it. You dread it and you think it's for the dogs, you think it's for the streets, you think it's the worst thing ever because realistically, no one taught you how to prepare for this. And I want to help you. So check out the link below, schedule your call to come on over. The next phase of group training starts September 30th, so you do have time to register. Let's connect to see if I can help you with your goals. All right. Until next time, have a fabulous one, gorgeous.